Welcome to CEOs in Cars, a BC Business video series sponsored by the Dilawri Group of Companies in Infiniti, downtown Vancouver, in which we drive around in high-performance cars with British Columbia's equally high-performing CEOs. In this episode, BC Business writer Steve Burgess rides shotgun with Scott Morison, founder, president, and CEO of Brown Socialhouse, the Vancouver-based franchise that's equally big on quality food for a date night as it is on chilling out over a pint and a game with your boys. The company is on an expansion tear, opening 5 new locations in 2014 alone. They're also pushing into Washington State with gusto, with a high-profile location in Bellingham's International Airport and a new room just opened in the Seattle suburb of Bellevue. Given how this co-founder of the Cactus Club is schooling the local restaurant industry, we put him behind the wheel of the 2014 Infiniti QX60 and set off around the University of British Columbia for some higher learning about success in the hospitality sector.
Scott Morison.
Hi, Steve.
President CEO of Brown Socialhouses, and we are ready for what looks like a lot of vehicle here. It's the Infiniti QX60.
Great.
Can you handle it?
Yes.
All right.
Let's do it.
I'm hoping so. Let's go. All right, now here's the traditional first question is, what was your first car?
Are we rolling?
Yep. It's like they're going to edit this down anyway, right?
Yeah. It was a 1970s Ford half-ton truck, silver. I bought some Big Mag tires for the back.
Nice.
I did a little customizing on it. I put tufted ceiling in there and tufted leather dash, and I tripped it up a bit. And it was awesome.
Cafe Cucamonga, was that your first?
My first true restaurant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was with your partner?
Richard Jaffrey. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a franchise store. It was Stan Fuller's own store, and he's the president of Earl's and the oldest son of the Fullers. So that's how we got to know Stan back in those days. And so it was a great learning curve. But we did that for 2 years, and then we opened the first Cactus Club up in 1988.
Right. Now, but you first, like, how long were you and Richard with?
I was there for 18 years. Right, and kind of basically had an Oprah moment. After 18 years, I said, you know what? I see a different future. I see things differently, and I see that there's a great opportunity to franchise. So we opened the first Browns in 2004. I thought there was an opportunity for smaller footprint stores, owner-operator driven, and getting into markets that you can't get into with the big stores. Like
Dawson, for example.
Like Dawson Creek and Grand Prairie and Yorkton and Estevan and Weyburn. It's like, sometimes I say it's like a Johnny Cash song or Stompin' Tom Connors. I've been everywhere, man.
Right. You had the name Browns right away?
Yeah, we actually, it was under construction. We didn't have a name yet. And so the big debate was, what am I going to call it? And I saw a program on CNN. It was called The Pinnacle. And they had 2 guys that owned Smith & Wollensky, a big steakhouse in the States. And they said they couldn't figure out their name. So what they did is they got a phone book, and they both had a flip. So I grabbed the phone book, and I flipped to Browns, and I said, like, that's it. And she goes, well, why is that? Why is that it? I go, Browns is great because it doesn't mean anything. Right. You can create your own identity over the next 10, 15, 20 years.
One thing I noticed is that, your Dawson Creek menu doesn't seem to be really any different from your Kitsilano menu. I mean, I would have thought that there would be greater difficulty in getting that menu up and running.
No, I mean, part of our infrastructure as a company now is we have, great supply chain. When we initially started going to some of these markets, I was wondering how some things would sell. Sure. And guess what? It's the number one selling item on our menus here. It's the number one selling item on the menu up there.
And that is the dynamite roll. The dynamite roll.
Yeah. So, like, really, in the end, things are pretty universal.
Your idea was, when you started Brown Socialhouse, it was something that was going to be expandable, and it certainly has been expandable, hasn't it? I mean,
yeah. The idea was smaller footprints. You wanted to have you want to be in the you want an owner-operator driven concept with franchises. And so what car companies do is they'll put the different models on it and skin it, right? So what we're doing is we have 3 new concepts we want to put on that same chassis. So we're opening a steakhouse up end of 2015, early 2016 in Fort St. John, and it's going to be called Morison's.
There you go.
So that's going to be one model, and then we've trademarked London Bull, so we want to actually create what we think is Brown's first true competitor.
You're going to compete with yourself.
We're going to compete with ourselves because we got all these guys in all these markets, and I go, there's going to be stores that open up across the street. Wouldn't you rather be your own competition? Right?
Right.
So I think you can get some of these franchisees that are going to grow up their markets. Like say Saskatchewan, he's going to grow out his market. He signed up for a total of 25 stores. So, at that point, what do you do? When it's not about the money, it's like, I think you need the adventure. I go like London, New York, Hong Kong, here we come.
So it's Scott Morison.
Yes.
Right? Scott
Thanks,
Morison. Brown Socialhouse. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you very much. Great.
Scott Brown,
Steve?
President, CEO of Brown Social Houses, and are you ready for looks like a big hunk of vehicle there?
I think it's a redo of Scott Morrison, actually.